Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Finance and General Purposes Committee of Biggleswade Town Council. Meeting formalities is a reminder to meeting attendees that this is a formal meeting. I can advise that members of the public will be given an opportunity to speak during public open session, but not at other times. The meeting is being filmed, and by being present, attendees are deemed to have agreed to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings. I can advise that attendees should not disclose any personal information of individuals, as this would infringe the data protection rights of that individual. May I please ask everyone to mute their microphones when not speaking. First item on the agenda is apologies for absence. I've got apologies from Councillor David Albone and Councillor Mark Knight. Councillor Knight, I know, is online. Have we got any other apologies? Right, next item on the agenda is apologies for absence. As we've got that declaration of interest to receive statutory declarations of interest from members in relation to a disclosable pecuniary interest in any agenda item. Has anybody got any disclosable pecuniary interests? Non-pecuniary interest in any agenda item? I know Councillor Knight has got one. Councillor Knight.
Thank you. Yes, non-pecuniary. I recently joined the History Society, who have applied for a grant. I'm not involved in that application in any way, and obviously I won't speak on that.
Thank you. No other interest to declare. Chairman's announcements. I have none. Public open session. Have we got any members of the public? I know we haven't got anybody physically. Have we got any online? No members of the public wish to speak. We have no invited speaker. Item 5, so we move quickly on to number 6. Members' questions. Have any members got any questions? No questions. Right, the next item is minutes and recommendations of meetings. And the first thing to do is to receive the minutes of this committee's meeting held on Tuesday, the 16th of January this year in these offices. We're going through it page by page. The first page is in fact page 5 for accuracy, page 6, page 7. Is it your wish that I sign these as a true and correct record of the meeting? Thank you. That's approved. I'll sign those at the end of the meeting. Next item is matters arising under that meeting. Again, I'll take it page by page. Page 5, page 6, and page 7. If there's no matters arising, we will move on to the main purpose of the meeting this evening, which is items for consideration, applications for grants. Now, you should all have received the report and the details of the grant applications. This year is unusual in terms of the report in that we've got 3 tranches of payments going out, which includes the awards that were made in the year 2022-23, but were paid on the 2nd of April, which was hence in this financial year. The intention is that we will be paying the awards out before the end of this financial year. The monies will probably be coming from General Reserve in general terms to deal with that. If we should make an award in excess of £2,000 or wish to recommend an award in excess of £2,000, that will need to go to full council to be awarded, and that would actually come out of next year's budget. We have got a bigger provision in next year's budget for grant applications of £28,000. So that's just one point to remember when considering the awards. I hope apart from that, everybody has had a chance to consider the recommendations, and we'll go through them one by one. You've got the paper in front of you. You should have all the details of the recommendations. So we'll deal with the first one, which is in carers in Bedfordshire. They did receive money at the beginning of the year, but they didn't have any in the first award that was made in this financial year. Members, please. Councillor Russell.
Before we comment on that, there's no guidance at all about how much we give away. It's just we have to be cognizant that it comes from General Reserve. So there's no budget we're working to for this particular tranche. There's
no specific budget. The clerk may have an observation, but I think obviously we need to be aware that we haven't got an open checkbook. Mr. Tarrant.
Yeah, you're entirely correct to say there's no guidance associated with it, but obviously we need to be thoughtful and perhaps be as prudent as we possibly can be, bearing in mind that the general reserve was source of. Thank you.
Mr. North.
Yeah, just to be clear, I mean, is the reason for that because of this business of shifting the payment into the different financial year? So are we really talking about just accounting entries, really, rather than real budget?
It's to get rid of the anomaly that there's been over the years, which we did discuss when we agreed this, was that we're trying to bring the payments into the same year as the award, because I could never personally understand, or I didn't really appreciate fully, that we were paying the second award in the next financial year. It just seemed to be a bit of a nonsense. So it's a tidying up exercise. So this is a 1 year only anomaly to be resolved.
Didn't we agree an amount, though, to be used for the purpose of tidying up the anomaly?
Can I comment?
Yes, please.
Yeah, to be clear, no, we didn't know. What we did agree at the precept discussion was that the process should be adopted, and that's exactly what we're following to this evening. There is no guidance associated with the amount. No.
Thank you, members. If we finish that particular point on the procedural elements, if we can move on to the individual applications. The first application is from Carers in Bedfordshire. Members, you've seen the papers, and the request is for a grant of £2,000. We have awarded over several years grants, and this would effectively be the first award made in this current financial year, although they've already received some monies. Mr. Russell.
Well, I'd like to support Carers in Bedfordshire, but given the situation we're in, I would prefer to go for 1,000 rather than 2,000.
So we've got a proposal for 1,000. Is anybody's prepared to second that? That's been seconded. Any further comment, please? Councillor Agnew.
We're trying to be impartial and looking into the details. So we were wondering whether maybe next time when the applications are happening, we get provided more detail on the relevance to Biggleswade. In this particular case, we're still trying to unpick the detail of it. And with Madeleine's proposal, I would think, yes, the amount is sufficient enough to grant for the good cause to continue. Thank you.
Just before I put that to the vote, there's one issue that we can consider is a number of these organisations are charities, and a lot of them have restricted funds, which means money can only be used for a very specific project, which we may wish to consider, particularly in view of capital projects that are there, that we might actually wish to pay it as restricted funds. And then we can firmly seek information from the charities in the future if they should reapply, to make sure that they have actually spent the money on what is being asked for. I'm not sure whether this is one for restricted funds or not. Councillor Russell.
Well, should we not be asking for confirmation from all these organisations at a future date, say within 6 months, about how they've spent the money? I think we should ask them all to feed back to us.
That's a very good point. I think Mr. Tarrant has got something to say, and I think he's already got that in mind.
So if you look on page 10 in the recommendations, the second recommendation takes on board what Councillor Russell has just said. Yeah. So we are going to be, if members are of mind, we'll be asking recipients to evidence that the money has been spent on the requested subject matter, and also to give us some sense of the quantifiable impact upon the community. Thank you.
Hopefully that answers your question. Councillor Barrett.
I just want to remind everybody that we actually said that all grants would only be given for projects and things like that, not for running costs. So there are some in here that are suggesting that they are used for the purposes of keeping things running. So we just need to be cognizant of that as we go through each one.
Thank you for that. You'll pick up on that when you think members are being over enthusiastic in terms of awarding money, I'm sure. In that respect, if we've had a discussion, is there any further comment on this particular award? In which case, Councillor Thomas.
Not this particular one. Sorry, it's not this particular one, but cognizant of the fact that everything's got to go to the council anyway. So
no, we can make the awards here. Okay. Unless it's over £2,000. So what we decide today will be arranged to be paid out before the end of the financial year, unless it's for in excess of £2,000.
All right, okay.
Thank you. So and no further comment. All those in favour of the £1,000? Thank you, that's carried. Before I take item 2, we have got Mr Wilkinson here, who is actually keeping the running tally of the figures. So if you want to know how much we've spent at any time during the evening, he and his computer will tell us exactly how much it is. Thank you. Moving on to the next application is in respect of, find the right one, Biggleswade, Biggles FM. Members, your comments please on that. They were asking for 1,850, which seems to have been a regular request for many years. Councillor Russell.
Well, in spite of what's been said about not giving grants for running costs, this money that we've been giving them year after year is for their licence and various, so that they can continue running. And in spite of what's been said about how much that Biggles FM covers a wider area than Biggleswade. Actually, Biggles FM is available to all residents of Biggleswade if they choose to tune in. And I would very much like to see us continuing giving the 1850. And I'd remind people that Biggles FM have worked very well with the council in the past, particularly over things like Christmas lights. And I think we should remember that when we're awarding the grant.
Thank you. Is anybody prepared to second that? Councillor North. Is there any further comment from anybody on that?
I'll just repeat what I said earlier on. I take the comments on board that most of the money that we are providing is for them to continue running that. But if we're happy as a group, then I'm happy to accept that as well.
Thank you. Right. If there's no further comment, all those in favour, please signify. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next item is for Keach Hospice Care. They're requesting £1,000 again. We've supported them on a regular basis over the years. Members, Councillor North.
Well, I would propose we give them £1,000 as we have given them in sort of several years now.
Is anybody prepared to second that? Councillor Russell. Any further comment? I think that it would be helpful if they could just make sure that, as we're asking anyway in the future, that we could know how many people from Biggleswade and that they actually use the money for the benefit of families in Biggleswade. Councillor Russell.
It's a very difficult subject. I mean, it's a hospice for children. Maybe there won't be many children. I hope there won't be many children from Biggleswade. But I have actually visited the hospice in the past. I've seen it, you know, and seen the gratitude of parents who I met. And I think, you know, we've just got to help keep this going. I mean, it's our local hospice. It may not be ever so near to Biggleswade, but it's our local children's hospice.
Barrett.
No concern as regards the amounts or the reasons given, but just a little bit unsure about process. We're agreeing on each one of these as we're going along. Are we going to agree the overall total as well? And give the opportunity to go back if we feel it's too much as overall.
I think we've got to keep that before we've put the final proposals. So okay, we'll take the final figure. At the moment, I think we're at 3,850. So good point. Thank you. Those in favour, I can't remember which actually took the vote on that. That's carried. Thank you. The application is the Royal British Legion Biggleswade branch. This is for the memorial bench in view of the 80th anniversary this year, I think in particular. Members, they're asking for £400. Councillor North. Oh, Councillor.
Well, I propose that we should grant them the £400 they're requesting.
Is anybody prepared to second that? Yeah. Councillor Agnew. Any further comment on this, please? All those in favour, please signify. Sorry?
We have already given them £500 and they've come in for another £500.
It was, yes, it was awarded in the tranche 2. They had 500 in.
When was that paid?
That would have been paid October.
Yeah, that was paid in October, yeah.
Members, could somebody make a proposal, say, if one way or another?
If I may, well, I would suggest that we say that they've already had an award in this financial year, and that they should make a further application for the following financial year. And at this time, we're not going to accept this.
Thank you, Councillor North. Councillor Russell.
I think this is one where we should see where we are at the end and whether we feel that we could give something to them, because we know that there's a crisis in children's social care.
Yeah.
And if this organisation, as it is helping with helping particularly parents with children who have got autism, then I think we should try to support them, even though we have given them a small amount, because they're now not asking for a large amount. They're effectively asking for the top up for what they asked in the first place.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So would members agree that we just defer this until we've done the other applications and see where we are?
Yes. Right.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the 6th application, which is for Biggleswade Community Group. Again, members, you've got the paperwork before you with the request. This group is asking for £1,200, and if I read it correctly, they had £1,500 in the from the last year. They received £1,000 after a request for £2,000 in the first tranche of this year's awards. Members, this is basically the newsletter. Councillor Agnew.
I'd like to propose granting £400 this time.
400.
£400, yeah, because we are doing the calculation on different matters, but also accounting the fact that the application has been granted last time. And obviously we have budget restraints for this particular tranche. But this is my opinion backed up by the matrix.
Right, thank you. Councillor North. Oh, sorry, you don't. Councillor Foster.
Can that?
Right, it's been moved and seconded £400. Any further comment on this particular one? So all those in favour of £400 for the Biggleswade Community Group? Thank you. The 7th item is the Biggleswade History Society. They are requesting a total of £900. And this is specifically for, I think, their continued storage and capacity and recording. Sorry? Yes, for IT equipment. Members. Councillor Russell.
I think we should try and afford this. Put my false teeth back in. I think the History Society has got a lot to offer to the town. We all have an aspirational museum somewhere, and they store a lot of their stuff at the Methodist Church at the moment. And so they need that, but they do also do lots of presentations, and they've been very supportive of things that the council has put on. I don't know whether others are aware, but I've recognised people from the History Society at various events that we've put on. And I think we should be supporting them.
Councillor Agnew.
I'd like to support this proposal fully. Actually, society also helps feeding the information to the local podcast, which is listened by many people. So in a way, this is only one unique source of truth and story about Biggleswade, which is very relevant.
Councillor Russell.
I should have said, of course, that the History Society, a particular lady from the History Society, was very helpful to me when I was writing the introduction to the neighbourhood plan and making sure that I got the facts right.
Thank you for those comments. I think that it's important that we enable the history of Biggleswade to be preserved and recorded for the future. And obviously the computer storage and digital storage is the way forward in that respect. Any further questions or observations on this? All in favour of the award of 900? Right, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Just as a matter of interest, how much have we got so far, Mr. Wilkinson?
5,550 spent.
Thank you. Moving on to the next one. This is item 8, which is Blooming Well. This is one that they've requested £4,500. If we wanted to make an award of in excess of £2,000, this would in fact be paid in the next year's budget. If we made it 2,000 or less, it would be in this year. Councillor North.
Just asking, what is this organisation? What do they do? Can we have a description of what they want the money for?
According to the basics, it seems to be they would provide social and therapeutic horticultural activities, and there's a full explanation on the front of their explanation there. Councillor Russell.
I'm a bit concerned about this because I'm concerned about its long-term viability, and that is a huge sum of money. I think what they're trying to do is laudable, but I would only be happy with giving them, say, the £500 to see where they go in the future. They can always come back for the next financial year.
Thank you. So the proposal there is £500. Any Councillor Agnew?
I'd like to comment that there was a bunch of documentation where they've provided the list of what the expected expenditures would be. And one of the ways could be, for example, to grant 1,500 for the shed, which was the cost of. So apart from the shed and greenhouses, they also wanted a particular tools and this and that. So I suppose in some logical way, if we provide them the opportunity to build something where they can keep their already existing tools, then we can justifiably go with audit in 6 months' time and see whether this has been implemented. But that is just one opinion. I definitely support Councillor Russell that perhaps at this point in time, the full amount is not really justifiable.
So is there somebody to second? Was it 500 you suggested, Councillor Russell? Is that seconded by anybody? Councillor Barrett, is that seconded? Any further comment on this one? All those in favour? Members' comments, please. Councillor Agnew.
I propose to grant £600 because it's a good cause, but in the documentation, it was not really clear how many people from Biggleswade will actually benefit from it. The association seemed to be located and taking their meetings in Biggleswade, but that was about the extent of the information we could gather from that.
So that was £600. Any further comments, please, members? If there are no further comments, all those in favour, please signify. That's carried. Thank you. Right, we're now on to item number 10. The Biggleswade United Football Club. They are wanting £1,950. Again, I think they may have only made one previous application, and this is specifically, I think, to cover the costs of architectural drawings with regard to the proposals for a new clubhouse, which is on our land. Councillor Russell.
I think because of that, and because they want to work with us and it will improve our assets, I think we should give them this 1950.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
I second.
Councillor Thomas.
And this is for a project.
Sorry?
This is for a project.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is for clearly for a capital project, and is to basically the design of a potential new clubhouse, and not only the clubhouse, but that will have changing rooms and all the related facilities. And it's something that we actually have encouraged them to do. So I think it makes sense that we should award them in fairness to them. Councillor Barrett.
I agree, it being a project and for the reasons given, but I think we're also looking at the overall side of the football ground, aren't we, as well, in terms of what we're looking at in other items at full council as well. So we need to take that into account. Are we talking about the same?
Councillor Russell.
The same buildings and other monies elsewhere?
The architectural fees for looking at something would include the cricket club as well. So yes, it's an overall facility for Fairfield.
So we just need to remind ourselves when we're looking at that later on that we've already allocated some money for that.
Yes, most certainly, thank you. Yep. Any further comments? All those in favour? Thank you very much. They've requested £1,250. They've already had one award this year. Members. Members, observations, please. Councillor Foster.
I think this is a good cause. Although we have given them some money in the last tranche, I'm very keen to support this because I know there's particularly for new mothers and the support that's needed. So, but I'm inclined perhaps not to go for the full 1250. I'm inclined to go for the 850, which would then meet sort of the 1450 that they requested initially. So our proposal will be 850.
Seconded. Any further comment? If there's no further comment, all those in favour, please signify. Thank you. And yet again, Mr. Wilkinson, if you can just bring us up to speed. I think I know how much it is, but
9,450 agreed.
Thank you. And we've got a couple more to go. And then the 12th applicant is the veg box scheme. Again, we've supported them already this year. That doesn't mean we can't do it before they've asked us 700. They originally asked for 700 in their first application this year, and we awarded them 375. Councillor North.
Well, should we offer them 325 to make up the 700 that they originally asked for?
Is that seconded by anybody? That's seconded in several places. Any further comment? All those in favour, please signify. Thank you. And the last, and unfortunately number 13, is here to listen. They've applied for £1,000. We have awarded them £1,000 or in the previous financial year, but we didn't award them anything, or they didn't ask for anything earlier this year. Any observations, please, on this? Councillor Russell.
Well, from reading their application, I mean, I wasn't very aware of their organisation. I'm interested that they're looking after mental health and that they do try to help young people with mental health. So I think we should continue to support them. I'm open to colleagues' guidance about the amount, but I wouldn't want to see them get less than about 750, 800.
Councillor Agnew.
About £500. That is just because I'm basing it on various calculations and trying to make it scientific if you wish, but yeah.
Councillor Russell.
I can't agree with what councillor Agnew is saying, because I think we should be looking at the grants individually rather than looking at the overall
yeah.
pot, and then we'll have a look at it at the end. So I wouldn't support that proposal.
Well, could I have a positive proposal? Councillor Agnew, you have put forward 500, which wasn't accepted. You were suggesting 850, but was it, or 750?
Well, I wanted to hear what other people were saying, but I would say let's go for 800.
800, would that seconded anywhere? That's seconded in 2 places. Any further comment, please? In that case, for £800 for here to listen, all those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. That now brings us to the total, please, Mr Wilkinson.
10,575.
10,575, which is approximately 50% of what we'd normally be awarding. There was one other that we deferred, which was, I think, Autism Bedfordshire. Councillor Russell.
Well, given the total we've come to, and given that they've asked for 500, why don't we give them 425 and make it up to 11,000? I know I'm going back a bit on what I just said to you.
Definitely.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine, it's fine. I was going to say exactly the same.
Right, that's been moved and seconded. Any further comment, please? All those in favour? Thank you. Right, members. Well, I believe the figures have all been taken and recorded, and that's £11,000. So is it your wish, members, that we make those awards and have the payments made before the year end? Yep.
Yeah.
Can we have a determination on the second recommendation?
Yes, I was just wanting to get that first one out of the way. So the clerk reminds me that there's a further recommendation that successful recipients of grants be requested to provide evidence that the grant has been used for the stated purpose and the quantifiable impact on behalf of the community, and this information will be shared with the internal auditor in due course.
Move the recommendation.
Any further comment? All those in favour? Thank you. And thank you to the finance team for the efforts they've made in the last few months to getting this. I think the process has improved a lot over the last year. So I think that is a good sign for the future. So thanks very much for that, and particularly Mr Wilkinson for his efforts in having guided us through this passage. Right, moving on the agenda, items for information, there are none. Public open session, sorry.
Let me just make one comment in regards to the presentation, which is marvellous, but I'm just looking at the screen here. It might be that you have the advantage of the lines. Would it be possible to include the grid lines next time, so we can follow it across the page more easily?
Thank you for the observation. And I think if there's any other observations on presentation and ways that it can be improved, could that please be fed back to officers outside the meeting, because I'm sure there's always little things that we can tweak and improve. Thank you. Right, the next item is the public open session. Are there any members of the public online? As we've got none in here, and do any of them wish to speak? Right, there are no exempt items tonight, so I'm very pleased to say, ladies and gentlemen, that the purpose of the meeting is now concluded. Thank you very much for your time and attendance, and thank you very much to the staff for the effort they've put in getting this grant application system through, and indeed issuing the monies within this financial year.